Hey, welcome back to the challenge. Today I'm here with my friend Cheyenne, and we're gonna do a practice that, it's gonna be a well-rounded practice, but we're also gonna work on ankle mobility. So Cheyenne is a runner, and some of you guys might run, and you might have some issues with ankle mobility, and that's gonna really limit your ability to go into poses like malasana, the squat. Also, it'll affect poses like warrior one. So we're gonna look at some common areas of tension that will show up in the body from doing exercise like running, and we'll work with that. So let's begin on the back today. Lie down onto your back. Okay, so one of the things that you should know, running is great exercise. So with any exercise that we do regularly, there's going to be benefits and there's going to be some drawbacks. So for example, like I'm a surfer, and as a result, I have a strong upper body. Like lots of you guys ask, like, how do you get muscles in your upper body? Is it just from yoga? Well, surfing helps to develop your upper body just like swimming. But one of the disadvantages you might have noticed is that my upper body is very stiff. Like I can't stretch my arms as well as some people would. Okay, so for runners, they develop strong legs. They have good breathing and strong cores, but because of all the hip tension and because of the leg tension, that will start to show up in their poses. They'll want to give up from their core. So we're going to start off just feeling movement from the core to start off, and then we're going to try to integrate that in all of our poses. So the first thing that I'd like you to do is, as you exhale, you'll flatten your lower back down to the mat completely. And then inhale, arch your lower back. Tip the tailbone down into the floor. And as you exhale, flatten the lower back and feel your tailbone kind of angles up towards the ceiling. And just do that one more time. Inhale, flip the tailbone down, like it's pointing down to like 6 o'clock on a clock. And then like you're flipping the tailbone up to point, to noon. Okay, now point your tailbone straight ahead. So it's not flipped down, it's not tucked. And when you do that well, it should feel like your frontal hip bones and your pubic bone are on the same plane. Like I could rest a block and they're even with each other. Okay, now the next thing is the top of your rib cage. So the pelvic floor and the top of the rib cage, bottom of the rib cage, we want those to be balanced. We don't want the bottom ribs to be angled up. We want them to be pointing straight towards each other, if that makes sense. So think of your whole bottom of your pelvis like an orb, or kind of like a bowl, and then the bottom of your rib cage like a bowl, and they're facing each other, and we want to line them up. So take the bottom of your ribs and start to exhale them down so that they're aiming straight down towards the bottom of the pelvis without tucking your pelvis. Then your pelvis will want to tuck. Now, if you're not used to holding yourself like this, your shoulders will roll up and your neck will get weird. So now let the shoulders roll open and let the neck lengthen again. So this took a long time to explain this. This is a really important concept that you want to be able to feel when you move your body around. Okay, so now we're going to see if we can move your body around and still hold all this stuff. It's going to be tricky. Without letting any of this move, just bring your right leg up into a tabletop position. Try not to let the pelvis twist at all. Then set your right foot down, and I don't know, I got all like I'm a diva now, like with my movements. Okay, bring your left leg up, but don't let that move at all. Don't let that pubic bone come up. Keep it down and keep the ribs in. Then slowly change legs. And slowly change legs. And slowly change legs. And then bring the left leg up to meet the right leg. So both legs up in tabletop. Hold yourself from your middle. And now just start to make circles with your big toes. Start to warm up your ankles. And then make circles the other direction. All right, then take your arms up to the ceiling. Hold your legs in this tabletop position without letting the middle move at all, keeping the ribs in. As you inhale, let the right arm fall back and the left arm fall towards your knee. But don't let that rib move with the arm at all. And as you exhale, come back up. Inhale, change sides. Don't let the rib cage tip up. So you won't be able to reach as far as you're used to. Exhale, back up. Inhale, change sides. Don't let that rib cage twist. Exhale, back up. Inhale, change sides. Exhale, back up. Okay, then put your hands at your side next to your hips. And for this last part, without letting these bottom ribs tip up to the ceiling, slowly send your right leg forward. Use your exhalation to control from your ribs. And then rebend your knee. And as you exhale, slowly send your left leg forward. Then try to roll the shoulders open, even though you're holding the rib cage in so well. Rebend and stretch the right leg out. And see if you can lower the right leg just an inch or two without the ribs flaring up. And back up, good. And change with the left. Keep those ribs in, still express the collarbones and the shoulders. Back up. Good, then hug both knees into your chest. Roll over to your right side and take child's pose. All right, so in child's pose, have your big toes together, your knees wide enough for your ribs to fit in between, and let your hips start to release back and down. Then come up onto your hands and your knees and stretch back into your first down dog. Okay, so just a little yoga warning. Because we've been doing so much on our arms lately, if you're feeling anything in your shoulders, any pinchings, etc., it might be that you did too much too soon for your body, especially if you're brand new to yoga starting the channel. So feel free to modify. You can just do child's pose instead of down dog. If we do chaturanga, do it with your knees down like you learned in the previous days until you build the strength to be able to do it without any shoulder pain. Then walk your hands all the way back to your feet and fold forward. Little bend in your knees if you need to let the spine release, to pull the hamstrings release a bit. All right, then bring your hands to your knees and upright yourself. So next we're going to learn about Bandha. So when we practice, we can use Bandha to help to stabilize our middle like we were just doing on our back. So take your feet like outer hips distance apart and turn your big toes out a little. Then hunch yourself over like you're an old man with a cane that can barely stand up. And then round your back as much as you can in this position. And then draw your belly as much into your spine as you can. Like I had like a needle right here and you're trying to draw your belly away from it. Then exhale all there out and pull the belly back as far as you can and hold there and keep the rounded sensation. Just keep it tucked in and hold and hold and hold and round it more and round it more and round it more. And then when you need to breathe in, hold this and just breathe into your back ribs and your lower back. Let the sacrum, let the back ribs, pretend like you could breathe into the back body there in the lower back. And then one more exhalation, pull the navel all the way into the spine. But go from below your navel and now lift from your pelvic floor. Okay, now keep that pelvic floor lift and the low belly lift as you start to upright yourself. Let the head and the shoulders be the last thing to open up and lift from your middle. So this is what it means when we're like trying to move from our core. Lift from there and then start to roll the shoulders back and start to bring the head back up on top of the spine. Good, so now you're holding yourself from your center. Okay, then inhale, raise your arms up to the ceiling. Good, and exhale, fold forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, come up onto your fingertips, lengthen your spine. Exhale, fold forward. Reach down through your feet. Inhale, come all the way back up to stand. Raise your arms up. Good, then hold yourself from your lift from down low and make sure that your rib cage doesn't tip forward when your arms reach up. Then exhale, bring your hands to your heart. Inhale, raise your arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, flat back, lengthen out. Then walk your hands out, one handprint at a time, into plank pose. Hold in your plank, balance your shoulders over your wrists. Good. Now we're gonna do an exaggeration of what we should be doing with our core when we hold plank, just to emphasize all this core work that we're learning. So now as you exhale, I want you to take your front bottom ribs and wrap them in and down, like you're trying to cinch them down towards your pubic bone, like you're wearing a corset. And keep that feeling as you start to spread your collarbones again, like when we were coming up to standing. Good. To help with it, start from your pelvic floor. Then let the lower belly draw in, and then tip the rib cage and tie up those front ribs. Good. Now the breathing might be a little restricted when you try to do this. So now can you still breathe into the back body and spread the collarbones as you reach the top of the in-breath? Just 5 more minutes here in this. It's okay. Then set your knees down, lie down onto your belly. Point your toes back and come into cobra. Now in cobra, come up onto your fingertips so that you're using your back muscles instead of your hands so much. So the thighs are in neutral. That means that all 4 corners of your knees point straight down to the floor. Reach back long through your big toes. Good. And then slide your hands back under your elbows without the shoulders rolling inward. The shoulders don't want to roll in to make that happen. Good. Then lower your chest back down. Press up onto hands and knees and stretch back to downward facing dog. One handprint at a time, walk your hands all the way back to your feet. Inhale, flat back, lengthen out your spine. Exhale, fold forward. Press down through your feet. Inhale, come all the way up. Raise your arms up. Exhale the hands to your heart. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, flat back, elongate. One hand at a time, walk out into plank pose. Good. Now this time with legs straight or with knees down, shift forward and lower slow to elbow height. Inhale, upward facing dog or cobra again. Exhale, downward facing dog, stretch back. Good. Then look in between your hands and walk your feet all the way up to the front of your mat. Inhale, flat back, elongate. Exhale, fold forward. Press down through your feet. Inhale, come all the way up to stand. Raise your arms up. Exhale the hands to your heart. Good. Nice control from your ribs. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, flat back, elongate, but lift from your pelvic floor and your belly to reach your chest forward. Then step your left leg back into a lunge. Lower your knee down. Bring your hands to your right knee and peel yourself up off of your thigh. Remember, as you're lifting, still lift from your base, from your pelvic floor and from your belly, from your center. Then start to roll the chest open without pushing the ribs forward. Still that feeling like when you're on your back at the beginning of class. Take your left arm forward, straight out in front of you, and raise your left arm up. Reach down through your left shin, lift from your belly, reach past your finger. Then bring your hand back down. Both hands down onto the mat now. Curl your back toes under, lift your back knee up. When the knee goes up, keep your right knee tracking straight ahead. Don't let it twist in. Reach through your back inhale and reach forward through the sides of your ribs and your chest. Good. Then lift from your belly and come on up into crescent lunge. Raise your arms all the way up. Good. Do a little rib check, so take your arms forward, like out of the pose a little, and make sure that your middle is tipped in here, that it feels like the base of the pelvis and the bottom of the rib cage are even with each other. So the pelvic diaphragm and the diaphragm here for the ribs, they're nice and even. Then bring your head back up on top of your spine and start to stretch your arms a little bit further. Good, now see if you can lunge a little bit deeper so your knee comes right over your ankle, still keeping the stretch through the back leg without giving up from your middle. Your body will want to cheat from your middle. It'll let those ribs flare out to give you the illusion that you're stretching more, but we want to keep that so that you really open up that tight hip. Okay, good, then bring your hands back down to the mat. Step back into plank pose. Hold in your plank, strong in your plank. Then stretch back to downward facing dog. One more time, inhale into plank pose. Raise your right leg 1 inch without anything twisting in your middle. Change legs, raise your left leg up 1 inch. Set that foot down and stretch back to down dog. Then walk your feet up to the front of your mat. Inhale, flat back, elongate your spine. Step your right foot back into a lunge as you exhale and lower your back knee down. Then bring your hands to your left knee, start to peel yourself up off of your thigh. Take your arm forward, right arm forward, and as you draw your navel up, start to raise your arm up, reach down through your shin. Then bring your fingertips back down to the mat. Curl your back toes under, lift your back knee up. Keep that left knee pointing straight ahead without it twisting in at all. Come on up into crescent, keep your left hip in. Good, then as you hold in crescent, take the arms forward just slightly. Pause there. And start to balance your diaphragms. So make sure that the pelvic floor is balanced with the center, the base of the rib cage. And then see if you can balance your head up on top of that too. Then start to stretch the arms a little further without the rib cage tipping. Good. Now see if you can bend the knee a little further over your ankle and maybe stretch that back leg a little longer without these back ribs sinking onto your butt. Wrap your triceps forward and stretch through your arm muscles past your pinkies as you let the inner arm bones drop into the socket. Good job. Then bring your hands down to the mat and step back to plank pose. Hold here, strong in your middle. Lift your left leg 1 inch, strong core. Change legs, right leg up 1 inch. Keep the collarbones broad, chest open. Stretch back to down dog. Then from down dog, raise your right leg up from the inner thigh. Stretch that leg up. Good, shift into plank and pull your knee up by your chest. Lift your knee up higher, higher, higher. Now as lightly as you can, set that foot up by your thumb. Might be difficult if your hips are real tight to get it up. Wiggle it up, whatever you gotta do. Then lower your back knee down onto the floor. Bring your hands to your right knee again and upright yourself. Good, raise your left arm as you inhale. Now as you exhale, hook your left elbow onto your right knee. Slide your right hand back by your hip. Guide your hip back into alignment with your ankle and then lift your chest away from your thigh. So let the chest start to open. Now press your palms together, and as you press the index finger knuckles into each other, spread your collarbones. Good. So you can hang out here. This is like a more stretchy variation of Crescent Twist. Or if you want to work on some strength while you're holding, you could curl your back toes under and lift your back knee. Maybe just do that for a breath so they could see. Good, then slowly lower your back knee down if you lifted it. And bring your hands back down to the mat. Step back to dog pose, downward facing. And raise your left leg up from the inner thigh. Stay even on your hands as you raise that leg up. Rotate your triceps down and stretch the hips out of your lower back. Then shift into plank pose. Pull your knee up to your chest, lift up. And lift your leg up higher to get your foot all the way up by your thumb. Pull it up there. Good. Then lower your back knee down. Bring your hands to your left knee and start to upright yourself. Then take your right arm up. And as you exhale, hook your elbow to your knee. Slide your left hand to your hip. So now press the elbow down and lift your chest up. Then join your palms together. As you press your index finger knuckles, spread your collarbones from the center to the shoulders. Good, a couple breaths here, just to let the chest start to open up. Then if you add it on the last side, go ahead, curl your back toes under. Without your left hip swinging out to the side, keep it in, lift the back knee up. Keep the chest open through the transition, not to round over. Then see if you can lift that back thigh a little higher, resist gravity with the back leg, and let the left thigh drop another inch. Good, bring your hands back down to the mat. Step back to down dog. Now if your hamstrings are very tight, it might be better for you to bend your knees a little bit in down dog so you can get the length of your spine. Now even though Cheyenne runs a bunch, she also practices a lot of yoga, so she can do down dog with the legs pretty straight. So it's not the best representation of someone with a lot of running tension. Okay, cool. Then walk your feet up in between your hands. And bring your hands to your hips, come all the way up to stand. All right, now turn to your side and separate your legs wide apart. Spread your arms out. And we're gonna practice side angle pose. This is a great pose for opening up the front of your pelvis. Turn your left toes in slightly, turn your right leg all the way out. Then bend your right knee and bring your forearm to your thigh. Take your left arm all the way over your ear. Good. Rotate the tricep down to the floor, reach past your pinky. Keep turning your right thigh out. Stretch through your back heel and get long to the line of your back ankle. Like I could pull a string in your body from your back ankle to your head. Make sure that that rib cage isn't flaring out to give you the illusion that you're opening your hip and your shoulder more. Come back up. Then change sides. Turn your feet, bend your left knee, and put your left elbow down onto your thigh, right arm over. Make sure that your back foot is angled in just slightly. That is going to protect your back knee, your hip, and your lower back. Breathe into all four sides of your rib cage to help to open up those tight back muscles that get so tight from the spring that you need for running. Then come back up, warrior two. Straighten your left leg, turn your left toes in so your feet are parallel and fold forward in between your legs. Whew, here we go. Big hamstring stretch here. Inhale, flat back, lengthen. And now if you need to bend your knees a little bit to help your pelvis tip into the pose, you can. Walk the hands back and let the head drop down. 5 breaths here. Take one more deep breath in through your nose. Then inhale, flat back. Exhale, hands onto your hips. Come all the way up to stand. And then bring your feet together. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is address the inability sometimes for runners to be able to go into like a squatted position like malasana because of the ankle tension. So we're going to go over to the wall, and I have a bolster with a blanket. So like at home you could use anything that your feet can hang on to in this position. So come on over here, Cheyenne. I've placed it like maybe 10 inches away from the wall, and then you're going to take the balls of your toes up onto there. And then try to stretch the heels onto the floor. Yeah, with both feet.
It's a good one.
Yeah. Okay, so it's not a very intense stretch, but it will start to open up your calves and start to get some more movement in your ankle. Once you've been holding here for a little bit, you can start to bend your knees, bring the knees forward a little. Don't take them past the big toes, but you can take them to like the big toe mound, if possible. Will they bend at all? No, maybe not. Okay, so that's a good stretch for you to work on. Eventually, you could start to bend the knees and keep the heels down. But keep the heels down. Don't let the heels lift up to bend your knees. And you can work on holding this for like a minute, 2 minutes, until you really feel like your calves can release and your ankles can stretch. That's a good one for you. Mm-hmm. Okay, come back to your mat. And then come onto your hands and your knees. Step your right foot forward and your left knee down. Good. Then we're going to come up onto blocks here for this stretch. You might not have blocks at home. You could use whatever you have instead of blocks. But in this position, in this low lunge, just reach down through your shin as you lift up your belly. Okay, good. So this is a great stretch to open up your quad muscles if you're tight, which you probably are if you're running a lot. Then bring your hips back over top of your left knee. And then wiggle your right foot forward until the leg is straight-ish. But in this first variation, see if you can stretch all the toes. So plantar flex, stretch all the balls of the toes and the toes. Let even the toes spread and reach into the floor. And keep reaching those toes all the way down as you pull your right thigh bone back into the socket. So this is also going to help with your ankle mobility, because the more you can flex it, the more you'll be able, the more you can plantar flex it, the better you'll be able to dorsiflex it. And the better you'll be able to dorsiflex it, the more you'll be able to plantar flex. Okay, then dorsiflex your foot, so pull the toes back towards you. And then if you can, slide the heel like another inch or two forward if you need to get into the stretch. And then as you pull that right thigh bone back, lift your chest. Good. And reach to your big toe mound as you pull the thigh bone into the socket. And change sides now. Bend your right knee, bring your left foot. Good, couple breaths there. Then bring your hips back over top of your knee. Wiggle your left foot forward a little, or unless it's already in the right spot, then point the toes down. And as you stretch down through the front of the ankle into the toes, draw your left thigh bone hip crease back. Then flex your foot, pull the toes dorsiflex, pull the foot back towards you. Scoot the heel forward if you need to. And stretch your left thigh bone back into the socket as you reach through your left big toe mound. Good, then rebend your knee. All right, and then come into a seated position. Sit with your legs crossed right at the middle of the shins. Then put your fingertips in front of you. And as you inhale, take the back of the spine in and up. And as you exhale, if possible, start to walk the hands further forward. If you're already just upright, feeling a pretty intense hip stretch, that's cool, just hang out there. But if you can start to go deeper, and maybe even rest your head onto your block. And let your breath spread into your back body. Breathe into your hips. Imagine you could take your breath into your hips where they feel tight. Come back up as you inhale. And change the cross of your legs. Fold forward. And then come back up. Good. Lie down onto your back. So now here in Shavasana, in corpse pose, final relaxation, final meditation, Just take a few moments to let your body drop into the mat. Let go of any control of the body now. Let the hands and the feet relax. Any part of your body that feels like it's trying to lift away from the floor, just let it sink now. And let go of any control of the breath. Just watch your breath for the next minute. Watch the length of the in-breath. And watch the grounding, calming quality of the out-breath. Then gently bend your knees and roll over to your right side. And press yourself up to seated. Sit up tall, bring your palms together. And with your eyes closed, just notice how good your body feels after you practice. Notice the places that feel open, that previously felt tight. Notice the quality of your breath and also your current mental state. Then lower your head towards your heart. Lift your head and open your eyes. Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.
All right, thanks for practicing today. Hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought. Hit the like button if you did, and also subscribe to the channel. Thanks, and we'll see you tomorrow.